mean, the situation comes about as a result of US, UK, and French policy in the Middle East, together with behaviour of US regional allies in the Middle East, Qatar, Turkey, Jordan, and Israel, and Saudi Arabia. But we published cables, including in my new book, The WikiLeaks Files, showing that the US has been trying to overthrow the Syrian government since at least 2006, has very serious plans to do that, was trying to make the Syrian government, quote, paranoid, unquote, trying to get it to, quote, overreact, unquote, by instilling that fear and paranoia, trying to make it worried about coups, trying to stir up sectarian tensions between Sunni and Shiites, trying to make its efforts to stop the originator of ISIS, the ISI, the Islamic State of Iraq, make Syria look weak. The fact that it was trying to crack down on terrorists at all, push that as an example of the Syrian government not having full control over its territory, to encourage the government overthrow, trying to stop foreign investment in Syria, and secretly funding a variety of NGOs in Syria, also to make trouble, using Saudi and Egypt to help push that along. There's an interesting question, what is even in it for the US, this result? Well, it's not about the US population as a whole, of course. It's about the particular factions that pushed for it, whether they have a benefit. And of course, CIA perceives they have a benefit. They create a problem, and then they're given a greater budget to clean the problem up. Similarly with the contractors and arms dealers and arms manufacturers. If there's no problem, then their budgets are cut, so they create problems. It's also part of a grand area strategy to weaken Hezbollah, to allow Israel greater control of the Golan Heights, maybe a buffer zone as well, knock out a regional ally of Iran, to knock out the last Russian base that's left outside the former Soviet Union in Tartus, to create a path for a gas pipeline that comes from, the proposed path is from Qatar to Saudi, to up through Syria to Europe, which will compete with Russian gas. So there's, as I said before, those significant changes that happen in the world, they happen because significant forces come together and with multiple motivations. That's what we see here. But a easily predictable disaster. But from the US perspective, I mean, there's nothing for them to dislike about having Europe flooded with Syrian refugees. In fact, we have an interesting speculation about the refugee movements. We looked through our cables. So the speculation was this: occasionally opponents of a country will engage in strategic depopulation, which is to decrease the fighting capacity of a government. You try and get people to flee the country. In the case of Syria, it is predominantly the middle class that is fleeing, because it is the most able to flee. It has the language skills, money, some connections, and that's the engineering class, it's the management class, it's the bureaucratic class, precisely the class that is needed to keep the government functioning, and encouraging it to flee Syria, for example, by Germany saying that they will accept many refugees, and by Turkey taking nearly 2 million refugees, does significantly weaken the Syrian government. And so I look for some recent precedents of that. In 2007, the Iraqi government made a formal demand of Germany to stop encouraging migration from Iraq to Germany. Now, in that case, clearly Germany wasn't trying to collapse the Iraqi government, but nonetheless, the Iraqi government was feeling the same effect, that it was weakening its governing capacity. Sweden, in the Iraq War, is documented in the cables as making its contribution to the Iraq War, as it said to the United States, the acceptance of Iraqi refugees as part of its contribution. So regardless of whether there is design behind it. People, the forces engaged in trying to overthrow the Syrian government must be happy with the results.